Koraidon and Miraidon are amazing legendaries. Design, lore, roles within the games, there's not really much you can hate about them. Okay, maybe a few things, but I still think they're pretty cool. As many Pokemon veterans like myself would know, GameFreak releases 2 games for each new generation initially, with each having their own box legendary. This has been the case since Generation 2 with Gold and Silver. However, as of Generation 3, every new generation features what is known in the community as the 3rd legendary. So, seeing as Scarlet and Violet have been out for quite some time now, how about we delve into what the 3rd legendary could be for these games. Before we start, please be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe whilst you're at it. It would mean a lot to me. Anyway, I've been doing quite a bit of research on this, and I have to say, I am extremely excited for the legendary Pokemon's release. We know for a fact that we'll be getting one due to this book right here. This book is located in Naranja or Yuba Academy and features quite a few interesting passages. We'll be using these bits of text as reference throughout this whole theory video. To start, we do actually get a sneak peek at some other new legendaries throughout this book. Both Suicune and Virizion feature, but they look slightly different. As you can see, Suicune has a bit of a Raikou sort of vibe going on, with a hint of Entei in there too. The flowy mane looks awesome. Virizion seems to be going along with the same theme by almost combining all 3 of the Swords of Justice into its design. I have to say, I'm in love with that idea. Combining the quote-unquote sub-legendaries of each generation to form an amalgamation of awesomeness is a crazy yet welcomed idea. So, judging by the design of these new Paradox legendaries, I think it's safe to say that they are combinations of each generation's sub-legendary Pokemon. A fusion, you could say. Pokemon Fusion, something a lot of fans have been wanting for an extremely long time now. It even features early on in the anime. Could we be on something here? Let me elaborate. We've established that these 2 Paradox legendaries seem to be combinations of the sub-legendary Pokemon from their respective generations. Suicune, Entei and Raikou, and Virizion, Cobalion and Terrakion. So let's take that one step further and ask this question. Is the new legendary Pokemon a fusion of other legendary Pokemon? I know, it's a stretch, but hear me out. In Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, there is no triad of sub-legendary Pokemon. However, we are introduced to 4 quote-unquote sub-legendary Pokemon. Xianpao, Ting-Lu, Wo-Chien, and Chi-Yu, the Treasures of Ruin. Xianpao, a dark ice-type Pokemon, based on a snow leopard. An awesome design and extremely powerful. Its Pokédex entry reads, "This Pokemon can control 100 tons of fallen snow. It plays around innocently by leaping in and out of avalanches it's caused. The hatred of those who perish by the sword long ago has clad itself in snow and become a Pokemon." Quite the contrast. Also, a quick little nod to my previous video. Its Pokédex entry mentions how the hatred of those who perish by the sword long ago yada yada yada. Is that referencing the Great Pokemon War? It would make my previous theory that much more likely, but enough of that. Ting-Lu, a dark ground type Pokemon based on what seems to be some form of moose or deer. A strange design, but again, very powerful. Its Pokédex entry reads, "The fear poured into an ancient ritual vessel has clad itself in rocks and dirt to become a Pokemon. It slowly brings its exceedingly heavy head down upon the ground, splitting the earth open with huge fissures that run over 160 feet deep." Wo-Chien, a dark grass type. A very interesting design and not one that I think deserves the hate it gets. Its Pokédex entry reads, "The grudge of a person punished for writing the king's evil deeds upon wooden tablets has clad itself in dead leaves to become a Pokemon. It drains the life force from vegetation, causing nearby forests to instantly wither and fields to turn barren." Chi-Yu, a dark fire type. It seems to be designed after a goldfish. Yeah, I have no idea how GameFreak gets away with this sort of thing. Its Pokédex entry reads, "It controls flames burning at over 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit. It casually swims through the sea of lava it creates by melting rock and sand. The envy accumulated within curved beads that spark multiple conflicts has clad itself in fire and become a Pokemon." To me, at least 2 of these is sort of referencing some form of war, and I truly do believe that could be a link to the Great Pokemon War that happened 3,000 years ago. Again, it's not relevant to this. Maybe it is, but let's carry on. From these Pokédex entries, we can see that this group of legendary Pokemon aren't exactly the friendliest. But that's not the point here. We now know what these Pokemon are and what they represent. So why do I think that these Pokemon are relevant to the third legendary of this generation? All will be revealed soon. For now, let's talk about Area 0. One specific region within Area 0 screams suspicious to me though. Of course, I'm talking about this cave right here. I'm sure by now we have all had a little visit to this cave and wondered the exact same thing. What the hell do those markings mean? Here's what I propose. I propose that these markings we see within the cave relate to some form of ancient ritual, and that the 4 circle shapes we see are representative of the 4 Pokemon of the Treasures of Ruin. Now, if you watch my video on Mega Stones and why they will be returning to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you will know that I referenced a specific character when I was talking about Area 0. That character being AZ. For those of you who don't know, here's the situation with our King AZ. So we know that AZ created some form of device to revive his beloved Floette. However, after seeking revenge, he alters this device to become what we now know as the ultimate weapon. After Floette was successfully revived, she left AZ, as she was disgusted with his actions. For the next 3,000 years, AZ roamed the earth in search of Floette. Well, Jakey, why the hell are you bringing AZ into the equation anyways? It's due to the fact that AZ may have something to do with the discovery of Area 0 and the third legendary Pokemon of this generation. When AZ was wandering the earth in search of his Floette, isn't it possible he may have stumbled across a strange crater in a different region? He entered inside the crater only to discover the power that was hidden away in it. He saw many normal Pokemon, however noticed a few futuristic and prehistoric looking Pokemon too. This led him to believe that this crater is special. He believed that there was an undiscovered power in this crater that he could use to his advantage. Given the fact that AZ discovered these quote-unquote paradox Pokemon, he came up with a theory of his own. He believed that time travel is completely possible and wanted to harness the power found in this crater to go back in time and make things right, to be with his Floette once again. So AZ knew the power found in Area 0 could potentially help him to travel back in time. So how was he going to harness this power? Well, here's what I think. I believe that AZ used the power generated from what we now know as Area 0 in an attempt to time travel and make things right with his Floette. Now, AZ is an extremely smart man, as shown by the creation of the ultimate weapon. He knows how to harness the power of very powerful Pokemon. It just so happens that Area 0 is home to some incredibly strong Pokemon. One of which I believe is our elusive third legendary. The third legendary used Area 0 as its home and is the key reason why these powers exist here. AZ is the one who first discovered this Pokemon and was able to somehow capture it and use it to his advantage. AZ has the third legendary Pokemon under his control and is ready to go back in time to make things right with his Floette. He performs some form of ritual to begin the process of time travel. The third legendary begins to use its power when, all of a sudden, it becomes too much. The third legendary then begins to frantically panic and it can't contain its power. This is when things get very weird for AZ. Third legendary and AZ are thrown into some form of dimension purgatory. Both are panicking and think it's the end of them. This is when everything goes white. AZ falls back to where he was when he started the ritual. Nothing had changed. Only the third legendary was no more. It was out of sight, nowhere to be seen. AZ feels destroyed and realizes there's no hope of returning to the good old days with his Floette. Well, I enjoyed that little story. Now, let's see why it's relevant. So, AZ used the third legendary to time travel, but everything went wrong. No one traveled back in time, and the third legendary is nowhere to be seen. I believe that this is what caused what we now know as the multiverse. AZ disrupted the timelines when he used the third legendary's power, thus creating alternate timelines. One of which, for example, is where the ultimate weapon was never used, and therefore Mega Stones were never spread across the planet. This all begs the question though, where is the third legendary Pokemon now? Well, remember how I mentioned the Treasures of Ruin earlier? I believe they hold the key to finding our third legendary Pokemon. Going back to the markings on the floor, we're choosing to believe that these markings are for some form of ritual. We know the markings consist of 4 outer circles, all connected by lines going through them. I theorise that the Treasures of Ruin are necessary to complete a ritual in order to bring the third legendary back from its purgatory. Now, I know this might sound a little bit too far-fetched, and that's probably due to my explanation of things, but I truly believe that the treasures of Ruin are somehow connected to this third legendary that we have not been introduced to yet. Maybe the ritual fuses them all together to make said third legendary. It's entirely possible, but I'm not going to say it's 100% going to happen. In terms of other bits of information we have, there is this passage from the book I mentioned earlier. So, we now know the name of the third legendary Pokemon is Sorry, it had to be done. On a serious note, I have tried to make sense of what is probably nothing. After doing some digging, I've seen many people facing the same conundrum. This sequence of letters doesn't really mean anything. It's a shame, but I really did use all my brainpower to make any sense of it. Unfortunately, nothing came of it. So, we've hit a dead end when it comes to what the third legendary's name is, but that's not the important thing. We want to know what it looks like, what it's based on, and what typing it will be. So, let's get into it. From the very same passage we mentioned earlier, we can see a depiction on what the third legendary looks like. We see some form of scaly, spherical object with a lot going on around it. Planets, explosions, a crown, a very difficult picture to decipher. One thing that we can almost guarantee though is that this thing will be a dragon type. I'm not too sure on what its secondary typing will be, but if I were to guess, I believe the secondary typing will be interchangeable. Again, not sure how they'll do it, maybe something to do with the treasures of Ruin, who knows. To me this picture resembles an egg of sorts. It could be about to hatch and reveal the true identity of the third legendary Pokemon. For now, we'll just have to wait and see what GameFreak does. I am extremely excited to see what this third legendary will be, how it's relevant to the DLC, will it be relevant to the DLC, is it relevant to Tora and Sada, AZ, so many questions, I can't wait for them to be answered. Hopefully we get it soon. So, that is just about it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the topic at hand down in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like and why not subscribe whilst you're at it, it really does help out. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed doing these theory videos, they're one of my favourite things to do. If you could show any form of support on any of these videos, I would be very, very appreciative of that. It's been a blast. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Bye!